Picture this scenario. You're a genuinely good man. You hold doors open for women. You listen to their problems for hours. You remember their birthdays. And you always put their needs before your own. You're respectful, considerate, and would never hurt anyone. You're exactly the kind of man that women claim they want when they're complaining about all the jerks they've dated. Yet somehow, despite being everything they say they're looking for, you're consistently passed over for the very guys they complain about. You watch in confusion as women choose men who treat them poorly while you remain perpetually in the friend zone. What I'm about to reveal will completely shatter everything you've been taught about attraction and relationships. The uncomfortable truth that most men refuse to accept is this. Women are not attracted to niceness. They're attracted to something entirely different, something that our modern society has convinced men to suppress and abandon. And if you continue believing that being nice is the path to romantic success, you'll spend your entire life wondering why you're always the friend, never the lover. Today, I'm going to expose the biological and psychological reasons why nice guys consistently lose to bad boys. I'm going to show you exactly what women respond to on a primal level and why their conscious desires often conflict with their unconscious programming. But more importantly, I'm going to reveal what you can do about it. This isn't about becoming cruel or abusive. It's about understanding the fundamental forces that drive attraction and learning to work with them instead of against them. The first thing you need to understand is that attraction is not a choice. Women don't consciously decide who they're attracted to any more than you consciously decide which women you find physically appealing. Attraction happens at the subconscious level through biological mechanisms that evolved over millions of years. These mechanisms don't care about your good intentions, your moral character, or how well you treat her. They respond to specific signals that indicate genetic fitness and survival value. For thousands of generations, women who were attracted to strong, dominant males were more likely to survive and reproduce successfully. The women who fell for the nicest, most agreeable men often didn't live long enough to pass on their genes because those men couldn't protect them from danger or compete successfully for resources. This created an evolutionary pressure that programmed women to feel attraction toward men who display strength, confidence, and the ability to handle conflict. This programming is still active in every woman's brain today. When she encounters a man who is overly accommodating, constantly seeking approval, and unwilling to create any conflict, her subconscious interprets these behaviors as weakness. Not weakness of character, but genetic weakness that would make him a poor choice for survival and reproduction. Her attraction circuits literally shut down in response to these signals, regardless of how much she might intellectually appreciate his kindness. Meanwhile, when she encounters a man who is willing to disagree with her, who doesn't seek her constant approval, and who maintains his own boundaries and opinions, her subconscious recognizes these as strength indicators. This triggers attraction responses that she experiences as chemistry, excitement, and desire. She doesn't choose to feel this way. Her biology makes the choice for her. This is why the advice to just be yourself and treat women well consistently fails for nice guys. You're trying to win a biological game using social rules, and biology always wins. The man who understands this dynamic and learns to trigger the right responses will always have an advantage over the man who relies solely on kindness and good intentions. Let me give you a concrete example of how this plays out in real interactions. Imagine two men approach the same woman at a social event. The first man, let's call him nice guy Nick, walks up and immediately starts complimenting her appearance, asking if he can buy her a drink, and making it clear that he finds her absolutely fascinating. He agrees with everything she says, laughs at all her jokes whether they're funny or not, and basically positions himself as grateful for her attention. The second man, let's call him confident Chris, approaches with a completely different energy. He might tease her about something harmless, challenge one of her opinions in a playful way, or even ignore her for a few minutes to talk to other people. He doesn't immediately offer to buy her drinks or shower her with compliments. Instead, he acts like he's deciding whether she's interesting enough to warrant his continued attention. Which man do you think generates more attraction? If you said confident Chris, you're absolutely right. But here's what most men don't understand about why this happens. It's not that women prefer to be treated poorly. It's that Chris's behavior signals higher value and genetic fitness while Nick's behavior signals lower value and desperation. When Nick immediately starts complimenting and accommodating, he's communicating several things to her subconscious. First, that he doesn't have many options with women, otherwise, he wouldn't be so eager to please this particular one. Second, that he's willing to compromise his own standards and opinions to gain her approval, which suggests weak character. Third, that he's already invested more in the interaction than she is, which creates an imbalanced dynamic where she has all the power. Chris's behavior sends the opposite signals. By not immediately falling all over her, he suggests that he has other options and isn't desperate for her specific attention. By maintaining his own opinions and boundaries, he demonstrates strength of character and independence. By making her work slightly for his attention, he creates a balanced dynamic where both parties are investing effort. This doesn't mean Chris is cruel or disrespectful. He can still be polite and considerate while maintaining his independence and not being overly accommodating. The key difference is that his kindness comes from a position of strength rather than neediness. Here's where it gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. Women actually test men constantly to determine their level of confidence and strength. These tests aren't conscious manipulations. They're unconscious behaviors designed to assess whether a man is genuinely confident or just pretending to be. These tests might include disagreeing with something he says to see if he'll immediately back down, being slightly cold or distant to see if he'll start chasing her approval, or mentioning other men to see if he'll get jealous and insecure. The nice guy typically fails these tests spectacularly. When she disagrees with him, he immediately changes his position to match hers. When she acts distant, he doubles down on his efforts to win her over. When she mentions other men, he either gets obviously jealous or tries to compete by talking about how much better he would treat her. All of these responses signal insecurity and neediness. The confident man passes these tests by remaining unaffected. He doesn't change his opinions to match hers, doesn't chase when she pulls back, and doesn't get threatened by the mention of other men. This consistency demonstrates genuine confidence rather than the brittle ego that nice guys often try to hide behind their accommodating behavior. But here's the crucial point that most dating advice misses entirely. This isn't about learning techniques or playing games. It's about fundamentally changing how you see yourself and your value in the world. The behaviors that attract women flow naturally from genuine confidence and self-respect. You can't fake these qualities long-term, and attempting to do so usually backfires because women are incredibly skilled at detecting incongruence between what a man says and how he actually feels about himself. The nice guy's core problem isn't that he's too kind. It's that his kindness comes from a place of insecurity rather than abundance. He's nice because he believes that's the only way he can earn love and approval. He's operating from scarcity, believing that he needs to earn his place in other people's lives through service and accommodation. This scarcity mindset is incredibly unattractive because it communicates low value at every level. When you believe you need to earn love through your actions, you're essentially saying that your natural self isn't worthy of love. This belief seeps into everything you do and say, creating an energy that repels rather than attracts. The confident man operates from abundance. He's kind because he chooses to be, not because he needs to be. His generosity flows from a full cup rather than an empty one seeking to be filled. This fundamental difference in motivation creates completely different energy that women pick up on immediately. But think about it this way. When someone does something nice for you because they want something in return, how does that feel? Even if you can't consciously identify their ulterior motive, something feels off about the interaction. You sense the transactional nature of their kindness, and it makes you uncomfortable rather than grateful. This is exactly what women experience when nice guys shower them with attention and favors, while secretly hoping it will lead to romantic reciprocation. Contrast this with someone who helps you or treats you well simply because that's who they are, with no expectation of anything in return. This kind of authentic kindness feels completely different. It's warm, genuine, and actually makes you want to be around that person more. The same principle applies to romantic interactions. Authentic kindness that flows from confidence is magnetic. Calculated kindness that flows from neediness is repulsive. Now let me address the elephant in the room. Many men hear this information and immediately jump to the wrong conclusion. They think the solution is to become jerks, to treat women poorly, or to adopt some kind of fake bad boy persona. This completely misses the point and usually leads to even worse results than being overly nice. Women aren't attracted to men who treat them badly. They're attracted to men who demonstrate strength, confidence, and independence. The reason some bad boys succeed isn't because of their poor treatment of women, but because they often display these attractive qualities alongside their problematic behaviors. The tragedy is that many women tolerate bad treatment because it comes packaged with the strength signals their biology craves. But here's the key insight that changes everything. You can display strength, confidence, and independence while still being a fundamentally good person. In fact, the most attractive men are those who combine genuine strength with genuine kindness. They're not nice because they're afraid of conflict or desperate for approval. They're kind because they choose to be, and they're strong enough to maintain their boundaries and standards, even when it creates temporary discomfort. This brings us to one of the most important concepts in understanding attraction: the difference between nice and good. Nice is a behavior designed to avoid conflict and gain approval. Good is a character trait that exists independent of others' reactions. Nice guys are typically nice to everyone because they're afraid of negative responses. Good men treat people well because they have strong moral standards, but they're also willing to create conflict when necessary to maintain those standards. Let me give you another real-world example. Imagine a woman is consistently late for dates without apology or explanation. The nice guy says nothing because he doesn't want to create conflict or risk losing her. He might even make excuses for her behavior or blame himself for not being understanding enough. His failure to address the disrespect signals weakness and low standards. The good man, on the other hand, addresses the issue directly but respectfully. He might say something like, "I value punctuality and I need to know that my time is respected in this relationship. If something comes up that makes you late, I'd appreciate a call or text to let me know." He's not being mean, but he's also not tolerating disrespectful behavior. Which response do you think generates more attraction? The woman's subconscious recognizes that the good man has standards and boundaries, which indicates strength and self-respect. The nice guy's acceptance of poor treatment suggests that he doesn't believe he deserves better, which triggers her biological programming to see him as low value. This dynamic explains why women often lose attraction to men during long-term relationships. Many men start relationships with reasonable boundaries and standards, but gradually become more accommodating as they become more emotionally invested. They stop challenging their partner, stop maintaining their own interests and friendships, and essentially merge their identity with the relationship. What they don't realize is that this accommodation, which they think demonstrates love and commitment, actually kills attraction. The woman begins to feel like she's dating a mirror rather than a separate person with his own thoughts, opinions, and boundaries. The polarity that creates sexual tension disappears, and the relationship becomes more like a friendship. This is why so many women say things like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. When relationships end, the love is genuine. She appreciates his kindness and devotion. But the attraction has died because he's eliminated all the qualities that created it in the first place. The solution isn't to become distant or withholding. It's to maintain your individual identity, boundaries, and standards throughout the relationship. Continue pursuing your own goals and interests. Maintain friendships that don't revolve around her. Have opinions that might differ from hers and be willing to express them respectfully. These behaviors don't make you selfish or inconsiderate. They make you attractive. Here's another crucial piece of the puzzle that most men completely misunderstand. Women don't want to be the center of your universe. They want to be chosen by a man who has a compelling universe of his own. When you make a woman your entire world, you're not honoring her. You're burdening her with the responsibility for your happiness and fulfillment. Think about it from her perspective. If you have nothing interesting going on in your life besides her, what does that say about you as a person? If you're willing to abandon your dreams, goals, and friendships for a relationship, what does that say about your character and determination? If your happiness depends entirely on her approval and presence, how much pressure does that put on her? This is why women are often attracted to men who seem slightly out of reach, not unavailable or uninterested, but men who are fighting her to join rather, compelling lives that they're in than empty lives that they need her to fill. The musician who's passionate about his art, the entrepreneur who's building something meaningful, the athlete who's dedicated to his sport, these men are attractive because they have purpose and direction that exists independently of any romantic relationship. But here's where most men go wrong when they hear this advice. They think they need to pretend to be busier than they are, or act like they don't care about the woman they're interested in. This kind of artificial scarcity usually backfires because it's not authentic. Women can sense the difference between a man who genuinely has a full life and a man who's pretending to be unavailable as a strategy. The real solution is to actually build a life that you find fulfilling and exciting. Pursue goals that matter to you. Develop skills that challenge you. Maintain friendships that energize you. Create a version of yourself that you respect and admire. When you do this authentically, the attractive behaviors flow naturally because they're expressions of who you actually are, rather than techniques you're employing to get a specific result. This internal transformation is what separates temporary success from lasting attractiveness. You can learn to fake confidence for short periods, but you can't fake genuine self-respect and purpose indefinitely. The men who consistently attract high-quality women are those who have done the inner work to become genuinely attractive people, not those who have mastered pickup techniques or manipulation tactics. This brings us to one of the most counterintuitive truths about attraction. The very qualities that make someone a good long-term partner often work against initial attraction. Reliability, predictability, and unconditional support are excellent for building stable relationships, but they're terrible for creating the excitement and uncertainty that spark romantic desire. Women's brains are wired to find novelty and challenge exciting. This isn't conscious preference, it's neurological reality. The same dopamine pathways that create addiction to drugs also respond to unpredictable rewards in social interactions. When a man is completely predictable in his responses, always available, and never creates any tension or uncertainty, her brain categorizes him as solved and stops paying attention. This is why the beginning stages of relationships often feel more exciting than later stages. Initially, both people are somewhat unknown quantities. There's uncertainty about how the other person feels, what they're thinking, and what might happen next. This uncertainty creates a psychological state called intermittent reinforcement, which is incredibly powerful for creating emotional investment. But nice guys eliminate this uncertainty immediately. They make their interest obvious from the first interaction. They're always available when she calls, and they never create any doubt about their feelings or intentions. While this might seem like honest and straightforward behavior, It actually kills the psychological mechanisms that create attraction and emotional investment. Consider how this plays out in modern dating culture. The nice guy meets a woman and immediately starts texting her every day, always responds within minutes, and makes himself completely available for whatever she wants to do. He thinks he's being attentive and showing interest, but what he's actually doing is eliminating all mystery and challenge from the interaction. Meanwhile, another man might wait a day or two before texting back, might be unavailable sometimes because he has other commitments, and might occasionally disagree with her or challenge her thinking. He's not being manipulative or playing games. He simply has other priorities and maintains his independence. But this creates the exact psychological conditions that generate attraction and investment. The woman finds herself thinking about the second man more often. She wonders what he's doing when he doesn't respond immediately. She feels more excited when he does contact her because it's not guaranteed. She invests more effort in their interactions because she has to work slightly harder for his attention. This investment creates attachment, and attachment feels like attraction to her conscious mind. Here's where the psychology gets really interesting. Women often interpret their own investment as evidence of attraction. When they have to put effort into winning someone's attention or approval, they subconsciously assume that person must be valuable. Otherwise, why would they be working so hard? This is called the effort justification effect, and it's a fundamental aspect of human psychology. The nice guy, by making everything easy for her, eliminates this psychological process entirely. She never has to invest effort, so she never develops the attachment that comes from investment. She might appreciate his attention, but appreciation is not the same as attraction. Appreciation is what you feel towards someone who serves you. Attraction is what you feel towards someone you want to win over. This dynamic explains why women often become more interested in men who seem slightly disinterested or unavailable. It's not that they enjoy being ignored or mistreated. It's that the uncertainty and challenge activate psychological mechanisms that create emotional investment and excitement. The key word here is slightly. Men who are completely unavailable or genuinely disinterested don't create attraction either. There's a sweet spot where a man shows enough interest to keep her engaged, but maintains enough independence to keep her invested. Understanding this principle completely changes how you approach interactions with women. Instead of trying to prove your interest and value through constant attention and accommodation, you demonstrate value through your independence and standards. Instead of being grateful for her attention, you evaluate whether she's worthy of yours. Instead of chasing, you create conditions where she chooses to pursue. This isn't about being cold or withholding affection. It's about maintaining your center and not losing yourself in the interaction. The most attractive men are those who remain fundamentally themselves, regardless of how others respond to them. They don't change their personality to match what they think someone wants to see. They don't compromise their values to avoid conflict. They don't sacrifice their goals to accommodate someone else's schedule. This authentic consistency is magnetic because it's so rare. Most people are constantly adjusting themselves based on social feedback, trying to be what they think others want them to be. When someone encounters a person who seems completely comfortable with themselves and unmoved by external validation, it creates immediate interest and respect. But achieving this level of authentic confidence requires addressing the underlying beliefs and patterns that create nice guy behavior in the first place. Most nice guys developed their people-pleasing tendencies as survival mechanisms, often in childhood. Perhaps they learned that being agreeable was the only way to avoid conflict in their family. Maybe they discovered that taking care of others' needs earned them love and attention. These patterns served a purpose at one time, but they become counterproductive in adult romantic relationships. The journey from nice guy to genuinely attractive man requires identifying these old patterns and consciously choosing new ones. This means learning to tolerate other people's disappointment without immediately trying to fix it. It means expressing your true opinions even when they might create disagreement. It means maintaining your boundaries even when others pressure you to compromise them. This transformation is uncomfortable because it requires giving up the illusion of control that nice guy behavior provides. When you're constantly accommodating and pleasing, you feel like you're managing other people's reactions and ensuring they'll treat you well. But this control is actually an illusion because it's based on suppressing your authentic self and needs. True confidence comes from being willing to be disliked by some people in order to be genuinely appreciated by others. It comes from understanding that not everyone will be compatible with your authentic personality, and that's perfectly fine. It comes from valuing your own approval more than external validation. This shift in mindset changes everything about how you interact with women. Instead of wondering if you're good enough for them, you start evaluating whether they're good enough for you. Instead of trying to avoid saying or doing anything that might cause them to lose interest, you express yourself authentically and let them decide if they want to stay. Instead of being grateful for any attention they give you, you appreciate quality interactions while remaining unattached to specific outcomes. Women can sense this shift immediately because it changes your entire energy and presence. You become someone who adds value to interactions rather than someone who needs value from them. You become someone who enhances their life rather than someone who depends on their approval for happiness. This transformation makes you fundamentally more attractive, not through manipulation or technique, but through genuine personal development and growth. The irony is that when you stop needing women to validate you, they often become much more interested in doing exactly that. When you stop chasing their approval, they often start seeking yours. When you stop making them the center of your universe, they often want to become part of your compelling world. This isn't a strategy or technique. It's a natural result of becoming a more complete and self-sufficient person. Understanding these principles doesn't mean abandoning kindness or treating people poorly. The goal isn't to become selfish or inconsiderate. The goal is to become someone whose kindness flows from strength rather than neediness, whose generosity comes from abundance rather than scarcity, and whose love enhances rather than burdens the people who receive it. This kind of authentic attractiveness takes time to develop because it requires real internal change, not just behavioral modifications. But the results are worth the effort because they create genuine connections based on mutual respect and genuine attraction, rather than neediness and manipulation. The woman who chooses you from this place chooses your authentic self, rather than a performance designed to win her approval. The final piece of this puzzle that most men never understand is the concept of emotional leadership. Women are naturally drawn to men who can guide the emotional tone of interactions rather than being reactive to whatever energy she brings. This doesn't mean controlling her emotions or telling her how to feel. It means maintaining your own emotional center, regardless of what storms might be swirling around you. Think about how this plays out in everyday situations. When a woman comes to you stressed about work, frustrated with a friend, or anxious about a decision, the nice guy immediately absorbs her emotional state. He becomes stressed about her stress, worried about her worry, and his mood plummets along with hers. His attempt to help usually involves trying to fix her problems or validate her feelings. But what actually happens is that he adds to the emotional chaos rather than providing stability. The emotionally strong man responds completely differently. He acknowledges her feelings without taking them on himself. He remains calm and grounded while she processes her emotions. He might offer perspective or support, but he doesn't lose his center in the process. This creates what psychologists call emotional regulation, and it's incredibly attractive to women because it makes them feel safe and secure. Women spend much of their lives managing intense emotional experiences. Their hormonal cycles create regular emotional fluctuations. Social pressures and expectations create additional stress. When they encounter a man who remains stable regardless of external circumstances, it provides a refuge from the emotional turbulence they often experience. This stability isn't coldness or indifference. It's strength that allows them to relax, and trust that someone else can handle whatever challenges arise. But emotional leadership goes beyond just staying calm during difficult moments. It also means being willing to create positive emotions and experiences rather than waiting for them to happen naturally. The nice guy often waits for the woman to indicate what she wants to do, where she wants to go, or how she wants to spend time together. He's so focused on accommodating her preferences that he never develops the skill of creating memorable experiences. The attractive man takes responsibility for the quality of their interactions. He plans interesting dates, suggests new activities, and creates opportunities for adventure and excitement. He doesn't do this to impress her or prove his worth. He does it because he understands that relationships thrive on shared positive experiences, and someone needs to take initiative in creating them. This leadership extends to handling logistics, making decisions, and moving interactions forward. When plans need to be made, he makes them. When reservations need to be booked, he books them. When someone needs to decide what to do next, he decides. This isn't about being controlling or dismissive of her input. It's about taking responsibility for ensuring that things actually happen, rather than getting stuck in endless discussions about possibilities. Women find this decisiveness attractive because it removes the burden of constant decision-making from their shoulders. Many women spend their entire day making choices and managing details at work, with family, and in their personal lives. When they encounter a man who can take charge of social situations and logistics, it allows them to relax into a more feminine role where they can simply enjoy the experience he's created. Here's where most men completely misunderstand what leadership means in relationships. They think it's about making all the decisions unilaterally or never considering her preferences, but true leadership involves gathering input, considering options, and then making decisions that serve everyone's best interests. It's about taking responsibility for outcomes rather than trying to avoid responsibility by making everything a group decision. Consider how this works in practice. When planning a weekend together, the nice guy asks endless questions about what she wants to do, where she wants to go, and what she prefers. He thinks he's being considerate, but he's actually creating decision fatigue and putting pressure on her to manage the interaction. The conversation becomes a negotiation rather than an exciting planning session. The leader approaches it differently. He might say something like, "I've been thinking about this weekend, and I have a couple of ideas. We could go hiking in the mountains and have lunch at that place with the view, or we could check out that new art exhibit downtown, and then try that restaurant you mentioned. What sounds better to you?" He's providing direction and options while still incorporating her preferences. This approach demonstrates several attractive qualities simultaneously. He's shown that he thinks about her and their time together. He's taken initiative to research and plan activities. He's provided clear options that make decision-making easy for her. And he's maintained leadership of the interaction while still valuing her input. This is exactly the kind of masculine energy that women find irresistible. The psychological principle at work here is called cognitive load reduction. When someone else handles the mental work of planning, deciding, and organizing, it frees up mental energy for enjoyment and connection. Women appreciate men who can reduce their cognitive load rather than adding to it. This is why they're attracted to men who can handle complex situations smoothly, rather than men who need constant guidance and reassurance. But leadership in relationships isn't just about logistics and planning. It's also about emotional direction and creating the overall tone of your connection. The nice guy often mirrors whatever energy the woman brings to interactions. If she's excited, he's excited. If she's moody, he becomes tentative and careful. If she's distant, he becomes anxious and pursuing. This reactive pattern makes him predictable and forgettable. The truth about attraction isn't comfortable, but it's liberating once you accept it. Women aren't attracted to niceness because niceness signals weakness. They're attracted to strength, confidence, and authenticity. Stop apologizing for having standards. Stop seeking validation from people who haven't earned your respect. Start building a life so compelling that others want to be part of it, rather than trying to insert yourself into theirs. The choice is simple. You can continue being the nice guy who finishes last, wondering why women choose everyone except you. Or you can become the man who understands these principles and uses them to create genuine attraction based on strength rather than desperation. Your romantic future depends entirely on which path you choose to walk.